Hey there and welcome. Today we're going to talk about a communication superpower you use every single day, probably without even thinking about it. And that's the ability to switch between formal and informal language. Getting this right is a huge key to communicating well. It can seriously make or break a conversation.
I mean, just think about it for a second. The way you write an email to your boss is completely different from how you text your best friend, right? One is all buttoned up and professional, and the other is super casual, maybe full of slang and emojis. But why? What are the actual rules behind that switch? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into. All right, first things first. To really get a handle on this, we need to lay down the basic groundwork. In this first part, we're going to look at the core difference between these two styles. And really, it all boils down to two things: why you're talking and who you're talking to. So here's probably the simplest way to think about it. Formal language, that's what you pull out for official or serious stuff. Like a job application, an academic paper, or maybe a formal complaint letter. Informal language, on the other hand, is for all the relaxed everyday situations, just chatting with people you know well. And this image, yeah, it totally captures the vibe of each one. Formal is all about that serious tone, super correct grammar, and picking your words very carefully. But informal, it's way more laid back. It's chatty, you can use slang, and you use all those little shortcuts like contractions to make it sound more like a real, actual conversation. So, if you remember just one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this. The number one rule always is to think about your audience. Before you type a single word or open your mouth, just ask yourself, who am I talking to? Because honestly, the answer to that one little question changes everything. Okay, so we've got the golden rule down. Now let's see how this knowing your audience thing actually works in the real world. I mean, it's one thing to know the rule, but it's another thing to apply it. So let's put your instincts to the test a little bit. Have a look at these different scenarios. We've got stuff like applying for a job, talking to your school's head teacher, or just firing off a quick text to a friend. For each one, what's your gut feeling? Formal or informal? Go ahead. You can even pause for a second and think about it. So, how'd you do? Pretty intuitive, right? You'd obviously be formal with a head teacher or in a job application, but when you're talking to friends or family, you'd naturally switch gears and become way more informal and personal. See? It always comes back to the audience and the situation you're in. All right, so you've got the big picture. Now it's time to zoom in on the nitty-gritty details. Let's get into the actual mechanics, the rules of engagement that create these totally different tones. First up, we've got contractions. These are just shortened words like I'd instead of I would, or we've for we have. Now, in formal writing, you spell the full words out. It just keeps things looking serious and clear. But in an informal chat, contractions are your best friend. They make you sound way more natural and conversational. Next on the list are phrasal verbs. These are those little two-word verbs we use all the time, like look into or put off. Super common in everyday conversation. But formal language, it tends to prefer a single, more direct verb, like investigate or postpone. Why? Well, they just sound a bit more authoritative, a little more official. Okay, now this is where language gets really fun and colorful. Idioms and slang, saying something was on point, that's what gives informal language its personality. It's what makes it feel alive. But in a formal setting, clarity is king. So you'd stick to a standard word like excellent just to make absolutely sure your message lands exactly how you meant it to. This one's pretty simple, but so important. Things like ASAP or see you soon, that's all strictly for informal, casual messages. In any kind of formal communication, you spell everything out completely, as soon as possible. It really just shows a level of professionalism and respect for the person reading it. And finally, here's a slightly more advanced one, the voice of the sentence. Formal writing often uses what we call the passive voice. Look at the application is complete. We don't actually know who completed it. It sounds very objective, very detached. Informal language, though, usually uses the active voice, which is way more direct and personal. I completed the application. It puts the person doing the thing right there, front and center. Okay, so we've learned the rules. Now for the main event, the formal versus informal showdown. Let's see how all these little pieces come together in a real-world example. This is where it all clicks. So, on the screen, we have two messages about the exact same problem, a broken toy. On the left, a formal complaint to the company. On the right, a casual email to a friend. Just listen to the difference. The formal one says, I was disappointed to find that my favorite toy brand had been replaced with an inadequate copy. Okay. Now the informal one, Well, you'll never believe what happened when I opened it. There was a broken copy of the toy instead of the real thing. I mean, it's night and day, isn't it? And this table just breaks it all down perfectly. I mean, look at the opening. Dear Sir/Madam versus Hi Carrie. The vocabulary, inadequate compared to words like annoyed. The formal letter has zero contractions or abbreviations, but the informal email is loaded with them, like YIL and ASAP. You can literally see how each one of those rules we just talked about works together to build the overall tone. So, why does any of this actually matter? Well, in our final section, we're going to see that understanding this stuff isn't just some boring grammar lesson. It's actually a super powerful tool. It's like a toolkit for navigating your social and professional life.
So here's the bottom line. Knowing when to be formal and when to be casual is what lets you really connect with people, show respect, and get your point across in the best way possible. Using the wrong tone on a job application could get it tossed right out, but being way too formal with a close friend can make you seem kind of cold or distant. Mastering this switch really is the key to being a more powerful and successful communicator. And with that, I'm going to leave you with a little challenge. Think about the rest of your day. What's one email, one text, or one conversation that you're going to have where you can just pause for a second and consciously choose your tone? Give it a shot. Thanks so much for watching.